So you've just cracked open a beer for the very first time. Maybe someone handed it to you at a party, or maybe you snuck one out of the fridge when nobody was watching, like every other curious teenager does at some point. And the moment that first sip hits your tongue, your face does something involuntary and deeply embarrassing. You wince, you might even gag a little, and your brain, which is a very dramatic organ by the way, immediately sends a signal that essentially says, "Why would you do that to us?" And what's kind of wild is that this reaction is not just you being dramatic. There is a genuinely fascinating and slightly unsettling biological cascade happening inside your body in real time, and it starts way before the alcohol even gets absorbed. The first thing that happens when beer enters your mouth is that your taste receptors go into what I would describe as a full-scale emergency meeting. Beer is bitter. That bitterness comes primarily from hops, which are the flowers used during brewing to balance out the sweetness of the malt. And here is where it gets interesting to me. Humans are naturally predisposed to dislike bitter flavors, because for most of our evolutionary history, bitter meant poison. Your ancestors survived partly because they were suspicious of bitter things. So when you take that first sip and your face collapses in on itself, that's not weakness. That is literally thousands of years of survival instinct screaming at you from the inside, which honestly makes you feel a little better about how embarrassing that face was. Anyway, your saliva also kicks into high gear immediately, trying to dilute whatever this strange liquid is, and your throat kind of braces itself because it has no idea what's coming next. Now, after you swallow, the real stuff starts happening, and this is the part I find genuinely interesting. The alcohol in beer, which is ethanol, gets absorbed incredibly fast. A significant portion of it actually gets absorbed directly through the lining of your stomach before it even makes it to your small intestine, which does most of the heavy lifting. From there, it enters your bloodstream almost immediately, and within minutes, your brain starts receiving a very different kind of signal. Ethanol affects something called the GABA receptors in your brain, which are essentially your nervous system's natural brakes. Alcohol amplifies the effect of GABA, meaning your brain starts slowing down certain processes. This is why even after one beer, some people report feeling slightly relaxed or a little warmer than they did a minute ago, which, depending on who you are and what kind of week you've had, is either a minor relief or a deeply concerning pattern. No judgment, truly. Here's the part of this that I find kind of wild and also weirdly poetic if you're into that sort of thing, which I'm not, but stay with me. Your liver, the moment alcohol enters your bloodstream, essentially drops everything it was doing and makes alcohol metabolism its number one priority. It treats ethanol like a fire that needs to be put out before anything else. Your liver converts the ethanol into something called acetaldehyde, which is actually more toxic than the alcohol itself, and then converts that into acetate, which the body can then use as a relatively harmless energy source. So in a strange way, your liver is performing a somewhat heroic act every single time you drink, quietly cleaning up a mess you voluntarily made. And the reason some people feel awful the morning after drinking is largely because the acetaldehyde builds up faster than the liver can process it. That's the headache. That's the nausea. That's the regret. Science has a very clinical name for it. Most people just call it Tuesday. Also, and I say this with complete sincerity, beer is objectively worse than almost every other beverage available to you, and the fact that it became the most widely consumed alcoholic drink on the planet is a larger mystery to me than anything going on with the liver. Put that in the comments if you feel strongly either way. What also happens on that very first sip is something that kind of rewires your expectations over time. Your brain, which is also running a very aggressive predictive algorithm in the background at all times, begins associating the taste of beer with whatever social or emotional context surrounds that first experience. If you were at a celebration, if people around you were laughing, if something good had just happened, your brain files that away alongside the taste of hops and carbonation. And that is actually a big reason why people who initially hate beer end up tolerating or even enjoying it eventually. The taste barely changes. What changes is the association your brain has built around it. If you want to build a positive association with this channel, the like and subscribe buttons, right down there. Feel free to click them. Or don't. I'm just going to stare blankly for a couple of seconds before I explain what happens to your kidneys. By the time a standard beer is fully processed through your system, your blood alcohol content has already begun to drop. Your kidneys are filtering more aggressively, which is why beer sends you to the bathroom what feels like immediately. The carbonation expands in your stomach and pressurizes things in a way that your digestive system did not sign up for. And your brain, which started this entire process by telling you the beer tasted like something was wrong, has now received just enough ethanol to stop complaining quite as loudly. And honestly, that whole sequence, from the first flinch to the quiet calm that follows, takes maybe 20 minutes from start to finish, which is a lot of biology for one bad decision at a party. So, now you know the exact biological reason why your body panicked the first time you tasted hops, and the wild science behind how your brain eventually convinced you to like it. But what does the specific beer you eventually settled on actually say about you as a human being? Because I promise you, It says absolutely everything. Whether you're the guy trying to find notes of pine resin and grapefruit in a craft IPA, the fitness bro trying to justify a 95-calorie ultralight, or just the absolute legend with a tape measure on his belt who only cares that the can is cold. I made a highly accurate, completely unpeer-reviewed personality test just for you. Also, if you enjoyed this, please consider subscribing. It costs you literally nothing, it takes 0 calories, and it tells my brain's predictive algorithm that we're officially friends now. Thank you for watching. Try clicking this next video right here on the screen if you want to see more of me. Seriously, click it. I'm waiting.